Hey everyone, welcome back to POL 702, Advanced Techniques of Political Science Research. This week we're going to move on to talk about causal inference, and in particular we're going to talk about causal inference in the context of randomized experiments. Okay, so let's jump right into the outline for this week. I'm only going to record two short videos for this week. In the first one, I'm going to just review some of the basics of causal inference. And we've seen some of this content before in 701, but I just want to review it and then in the next step, um, focus on how we can analyze randomized experiment using regression. Okay, and I will just give a very brief overview in both of those cases, and then we will jump into the actual coding in our next Q&A session, where we will go through one of the examples that is provided in our required reading in the textbook in those chapters. Okay, so your to-do list for this week. As always, please watch the lecture videos. This time it's really just a short, brief overview, and we'll talk a lot about the kind of practical coding questions in the Q&A session itself. There's a little bit of code, very minor, in these lecture videos. If you want to look through that, you can, of course, always check out the code on RStudio Cloud as well. The readings for this week are chapter 18 and 19 in our textbook, Regression and Other Stories, which focuses on kind of the causal inference primer, so to speak, and using regression in causal inference with experiments, or for causal inference with experimental data. But as always, I included some additional readings if you want to dive into these topics, or some selected topics in a little bit more depth, in a little bit more detail. There's a really cool paper on mediation analysis in the textbook. You'll see that there's a short section on why classic mediation analysis is or can be problematic, and that we need additional assumptions essentially to really, identify mechanisms that ultimately lead to a certain treatment effect. And so there's one really cool paper, Imai et al., that you can read if you are more interested in, or if you're interested in getting a little bit more into mediation analysis, or if you want to use that for your own research. Okay. There's an additional now forthcoming paper on pre-treatment controls that's kind of driving home this point that we can design experiments such that we include highly predictive pre-treatment covariates to increase the precision in our designs. And one concern that practitioners often have is that might induce certain biases, because respondents might kind of get an idea of what is being studied and so on. And this is a recent study that kind of shows in a couple of different replications that these concerns about biases are less problematic, and that the benefits of including pretreatment controls kind of in many cases outweighs the risk of inducing bias. Okay, and then there's another recent paper in political analysis that is really cool, that focuses on compliance and how to identify and profile people who basically don't comply with the treatment assignment. Okay, that's another problem in a lot of experimental designs. For example, if you're running field experiments, but even survey experiments, people might not comply with your treatment assignment, and of course that leads to problems, potential problems in estimation. And this is a really cool paper that allows you to basically profile and get an idea of what kind of covariates are correlated with non-compliance. Okay, so if you're worried about compliance in your own experiments, definitely check out that paper. And then last, we're almost at the end of the semester. This is the last assignment number 6, which I will post shortly, and as always on Canvas and RStudio Cloud. That will be due on May 14th, so about 2 weeks from now. And it'll be a little bit shorter than the previous ones. It's the last one. You also want to focus on your final project, so it should be a quick one compared to previous assignments. And then the semester is over. So let's get started. In the next video, I'm going to talk about basics of causal inference.